whoever starts, and when they're done, they squeeze the hand of the next person to them, and that lets them know it's their turn. Well, wouldn't you know it, I'd be all the way at the end of the circle. And so you're thinking about things to pray for, but everybody else is covering your material already when you get there. So by the time it got to me and they squeezed my hand, I just squeezed the hand right next to me. I just skipped me. I don't have anything to say. And I remember that story to date because I remember I want to pray and I really love God. I really just don't know what to say. And so, of course, about that time, my pastor was in a teaching series. I'll never forget this. And he was using the moment in the Garden of Gethsemane, the day before Jesus would go to the cross. And he asked his disciples, "Could you not tarry with me 1 hour?" And my pastor taught that Sunday service about how to pray for an hour. And I was lucky to get 2 or 3 minutes in, again, not knowing what to pray for. Heart and desire there just lacked the knowledge and lacked the information of how to make prayer work. But it was in that teaching series that my pastor actually taught through the Lord's Prayer as a prayer outline. We're going to cover that in a future lesson. That was the first time I realized, wait a minute, this is not just a prayer I'm supposed to pray. It's giving me topics of prayer, and I can actually maybe even pray up to an hour. And wasn't very long, a couple of years later, after practicing it and learning more about it, that honestly praying for 30, 45 minutes, even an hour wasn't something that was something I couldn't do. It's something that I often did. And then about 20 years old, I became a youth pastor myself and, of course, passionate about prayer. And one of the first things that I did was put together a group of students at my house on a Tuesday night, because that was the night before my youth service on a Wednesday night, and I wanted the service covered in prayer. And I put together a group of students called Prayer Warriors, about a handful, 10 or 12 young people who came over to my house, and we spent an hour in prayer for the service the next night. Well, that grew to more than 100 students coming over to my house and praying. And the secret was I was teaching them how to pray. I was giving them the same understanding about prayer that I had learned from 15 to age 20, just the models and the practices. And again, desire was there, just didn't know what to pray for. And even to this day, when I started our church, Church of the Highlands, 21 years ago in Birmingham, first thing I did was put together a prayer team. In fact, we took the first month of the church before we launched the church service and had a 21 days of prayer and fasting. And again, I taught the people of our church, this brand new church. I had 34 people who were part of the launch team. I taught them prayer. And today we have this huge prayer culture. In fact, not many years ago, I was in a series on prayer, and I felt like the Lord gave me this thought: pray first. Pray first. And it became kind of a rally cry around our church. And we even printed these little black bracelets that say pray first, to serve as a constant reminder to people throughout the day. Hey, before you send that email, before you go to that appointment, before you take that test in school, before you have that conversation, before you get in the car to go somewhere, before you eat a meal, just to pray first. And it became a rally cry. And we made these little plastic bracelets. And today, this is how people will identify that they go to Church of the Highlands. I'll be somewhere in the city and someone would just hold up their wrist and show the bracelet to say, hey, I'm a Church of the Highlands member. And it's just something that has kind of caught on throughout the years. And now we teach literally thousands of churches how to build prayer culture and prayer models. And we have 21 days of prayer and fasting twice a year at our church. All that to say is this has been a journey for me where I have collected materials and learned models. And what you're getting in Pray First is almost 40 years of personal Christianity, my life, but also the ministry that God's entrusted to me. And I love helping people learn how to pray. And I'm so thrilled to pass it on to you. And today, I want to cover the first section of the book. And I know that's a lot to cover in the first lesson of a small group session, but I really want to encourage you to kind of go ahead and read through this first section, these first 5 chapters, because they will give you what I call the 5 P's of prayer. And these really aren't the prayer models that really is the meat of the book, but these are the fundamentals. This is kind of the basics of prayer before we start talking about the content of our prayer life and the different ways we can pray and the models that we'll use. Because in chapter 1, we deal with the priority of prayer. Chapter 2, the place of prayer.